This week we're talking about inscribed angles, and just remember that when we have done our angles before, we know that if an angle is coming from the center, if we say that that is 40 degrees, then we know the angle of this arc is also 40 degrees out of the 360. So that was the one that we've talked about before. Now we're going to talk about if it goes all the way across somewhere, okay, inside the circle. So that is what an inscribed angle is. And the rule, the theorem down here, is that this angle is 1/2 the arc angle. So if we say this arc angle is 50 degrees, then this angle inside here that goes all the way across, notice it's not coming from the center because the center is the same, but if this one then all the way across here is 1/2 of that arc angle, so that one is 25 degrees. So that's pretty easy to compute when you are working here. So we're going to look at this one and just see what all the inscribed angles are. So we're going to go from O to G to D. So that's one of our angles, angle OGD. And its intercepted arc then is this one from O to D. See, it creates this angle, creates this arc from O to D. Okay, I'm going to do these in different colors. So let's do green. All right, so the next one we could go from G to D to O. So that would be an angle. Okay. And its corresponding arc then is the arc that's touching out here, O to G. And then we'll have another one that will be this angle, DO to G. And its corresponding arc would be the arc that it creates from D to G. Okay. And so remember that is 1/2, the inscribed angle that's created is 1/2 the arc angle. So that's our rule that we're going to be working with today. Okay, so this says, given that BC is 100 degrees, so from B to C is 100 degrees. Well, we notice this is the diameter, and anytime we have a diameter, remember that's 1/2 of your circle, so that's 180 degrees on that side. So if this part is 100, from A to B has to be 80 degrees to get that one total 180 degrees for that half circle. So if A to B is 80 degrees, then this angle X has to be 1/2 of that. So 1/2 of 80 is 40 degrees. So that angle X has to be 40 degrees. Okay, so we're just going to sort of keep playing with these. Okay, so we're going to see that, even if you've got an angle here, let's just read it. In circle Q, S to T, so from here to here is 68 degrees. Okay, just from that S to T. Okay, so they want us to find the measure of this angle 1 and then the measure of this angle 2. Well, let's see, angle 1 consists of the angle S to R to T. Well, whoops. You see that this angle 1 then creates the arc angle of 68 degrees. So if this S to T is 68, then we know that angle 1 has to be 1/2 of 68, which is 34. Okay, angle 2 does the same thing. It goes from S to P to T, so it's still creating that arc from S to T, so it is still 1/2 of 68, which is also 34 degrees. Okay, so even though there's two inscribed angles, if they have the same arc, then they're going to be the same degree. All right. So if an inscribed angle of a circle intercepts a semicircle, then the angle is a right angle. Okay, so remember, right angle means it's 90 degrees. So we're going to find the value of x. So if it intercepts the semicircle means half that circle, we know x then has to be 90 degrees. Okay, example 5. In circle A, the measure of angle 1 is 6x plus 11. Measure of angle 2 is 9x plus 19. Well, remember, the rule we just had, if it intersects that semicircle, this is 90 degrees. This creates an entire triangle. So those two have to add up to be 90 degrees. Because 90 plus 90 is 180. So 6x plus 11 plus 9x plus 19 has to equal 90 degrees. So let's add our like terms. That gives us 15x. And then we've got a positive 11 and a positive 19. That makes 30 is equal to 90. So we're just going to solve for x, subtract 30 from both sides. So 15x is equal to 60. Divide by 15, so x is 4. So to find the measure of angle 1, we know angle 1 is 6x plus 11. So that's 6 times 4 plus 11, which is 6 times 4 is 24, plus 11 gives us 35 degrees. Okay, the measure of angle 2 is 9x plus 19. And so 9 times 4 plus 19, that's 36 plus 11 gives us 47 degrees. Okay, so let's go see what the relationship is here for measure angle 3 and angle 4. So now our example says measure of angle 3 is 4y minus 25. Measure of angle 4 is 3y minus 9. Well, let's see, what's the relationship here? If we have PQ is congruent to RS, so if those are congruent, then that means these angles would have to be the same. So we can set them equal to each other. So we've got 3y minus 9 is equal to 4y minus 25. Now let's just go solve for y. Subtract 3y from both sides, so negative 9 is equal to y minus 25. So now we'll add 25 to both sides. So y is 16. Okay, so remember we have to go fill it back in. So measure of angle 3 is 4 times y, which is 16, minus 25. And that gives us 39 degrees. Measure of angle 4 is 3y, y which is 16, minus 9. And that gives us 39 degrees because we know they have to be the same. Okay. So, next, if a quadrilateral is inscribed in a circle, then the opposite angles are supplementary. Remember, supplementary means 180 degrees. Quadrilateral means it has 4 sides. So we've got a quadrilateral inside of a circle, and we know that opposite angles, so S and Q, would have to equal 180 degrees, and then R and T would also have to equal 180 degrees, okay? So if the measure of angle T is 95, the measure of angle S is 100, well, we know R has to be 180 minus 95, and that's for angle R. And so 180 minus 95 gives us 85 degrees. Okay, and Q has to be 180 minus its opposite S, 100. So it gives us 80 degrees for angle Q. Okay, so just remember that any quadrilateral has to add up to 360 degrees, those angles on the inside, and opposite angles are supplementary, which means they add up to 180. Okay, so now we're going to find the value of this inscribed angle. Well, remember, if we know this tells us it's 90 degrees, well, it's off the center, so we also know this one is 90 degrees, which would be from X to Y. We know that would be 90 degrees because remember, if it's from the center of the circle, these angles are the same. It's only this inscribed angle over here, that's 1/2 of that 90. So 1/2 of 90 is 45 degrees. All right, so now we're going to find the value of X here. We are told this is 120 degrees, the arc. So remember, this inscribed angle has to be 1/2 of that 120, which gives us 60. So 60 has to equal that 3x minus 3, and we're solving for x, so we're going to add 3. So 63 is equal to 3x. And then we'll divide both sides by 3, so x is 21. Okay, that's not too bad of a concept to learn. Just let me know if you have any questions.